Great. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Masaki, and I'm an economist. So what I'm going to do today is to talk about data. Please don't walk away. It's going to be interesting. What you see on the map are 32 low middle-income countries where we have a relatively high number of refugees. Of these countries, it's only in 6 countries where we have reliable estimates on what proportion of refugees live in poverty. I'll just take a pause to let that sink in. Well, not having some of the most basic statistics like poverty makes it hard for us to truly understand the reality that refugees face. To generate these statistics, what we need is a microdata. What do I mean by that? By microdata, I mean data that's collected through household survey. Just having microdata, however, is not enough. We need good microdata. Microdata that is representative so that we can generate reliable statistics for the target population. However, big questions remain. How much microdata do we have for refugees? Do we have enough? If not, where do we see the largest gaps? To answer these questions, we, the Joint Data Center on Forced Displacement, tried to create a comprehensive catalog of publicly available microdata on refugees. For this exercise, we tried to use 2 biggest databases of microdata, World Bank and UNHCR microdata libraries. What we did was basically to take the full catalog of thousands of household surveys that are in there and try to identify how many of them actually do have a representative sample of refugees. Sounds easy, right? Well, actually, the part of the issue is that we couldn't really go through them manually because there are just too many data sets to go through. So what we did was basically to employ innovative techniques like natural language processing, text mining, to automatically detect if a given data set has refugees in its sample. Through that exercise, we were able to identify roughly 200 refugee data sets, which are now readily accessible through this awesome-looking website. It's called Forced Displacement Microdata. Now, let me turn to the key findings. There are 3. First, as you can see in the graph on the left, there has been a steady increase in the number of refugee data sets. Good news, I suppose. That being said, data is scarcer in some places than in other places. That's what you see on the right, where on the map you see the bubbles, right? The size of the bubbles basically indicate the number of data sets that are available by country. As you can see, data is relatively rich in sub-Saharan Africa, more specifically East Africa, compared to other regions. And some countries, despite having a significant number of refugees, have fewer data sets, including places like Pakistan, Sudan, Turkey, just to name a few. Second, data on labor outcomes is extremely limited. In fact, only 19% of refugee microdata covers this topic, while a large majority of other household surveys do in fact have these kinds of questions. Well, look, if you don't have data on labor outcomes for refugees, then we won't be able to answer some of the most important policy questions, such as how easy or difficult is it for them to find a job, access job opportunities, or the extent to which they can contribute to the local economy. Last but not least, there are several questions that are so essential and fundamental for us to properly identify refugees. These questions include citizenship, country of birth, date of arrival, reasons for movement. Surprisingly, a large majority of refugee data sets don't ask these questions. Just to give you an example, only less than 10% of the refugee data sets that we identified asked question on why people fled in the first place. So as you can see, there's more work to do to close these gaps, and there are 3 ways to do this. First, include refugees in national statistics through routine national household surveys. Second, governments, development, humanitarian actors, we can all work together in partnership to close the gaps. And this type of partnership is particularly important in fragile context. Third, make sure that we ask this kind of core set of questions, right? So that we can properly identify refugees. And we, the JDC, the Joint Data Center, are here to help. So please invite stakeholders to reach out to us for further information. Now, if you want to know more about this study, please read this awesome piece produced by the JDC, which is written by me and also my co-author, B. Madison. So thank you so much for listening.